My name is Claire Hartley, and I realised I had lost everything the night I sat at my own sister's wedding, watching her kiss the man I used to call my husband. It wasn't a dream, it wasn't a movie. It was real. The candles, the music, the clinking of glasses, the sound of our mother's laughter in the background, like nothing was wrong. Everyone knew. Everyone smiled. Except me. 6 months before that day, I was still wearing my wedding ring. His name was Ryan. We met in college. He was gentle, brilliant, thoughtful in ways that made the world feel a little softer. And my sister Lily? She was the fire, the favourite, the wild one. Wherever she went, attention followed like perfume. And I didn't mind. I loved her. I believed that she loved me too. I was wrong. I should have known something was off the night Ryan stopped coming home for dinner. When Lily started visiting more, to check on me, I should have noticed the text messages, the long glances, the way he started comparing me to her in ways that didn't feel like jokes anymore. But love makes you blind, and family makes you numb. Then, one morning, I found the note, folded on the kitchen counter. Claire, I can't keep living a lie. I've fallen for someone else. I'm sorry. No name, no explanation. 3 weeks later, I saw the photo. Lily and Ryan holding hands at a vineyard, smiling like nothing had ever been broken. I thought the betrayal was the worst part. But it wasn't. The worst part was what came after. My mother told me to be mature. My father said, don't make a scene it's complicated. And Lily, she said, you never really loved him the way he needed, Claire. I did you a favour. That was the moment I realised. I hadn't just lost a marriage. I had lost my place in a family that never truly saw me. I stopped attending family dinners. At first, no one noticed. Then my mother called to ask if I could put things behind me for Lily's sake. It's her special time, she said. Don't ruin it with old emotions. Old emotions? My marriage wasn't some expired carton of milk. It was my life, my home, my heart. But no one seemed to care how deeply it had been carved out of me. Instead, they treated me like the problem. Like I was dramatic, sensitive, bitter. My father avoided the topic altogether. Every time I tried to bring it up, he'd say, let's not stir things up again. As if I had stirred anything, as if I hadn't been the one left behind, blindsided and alone. And Lily, she didn't apologise, not once. She sent me a text the day after their engagement went public. I hope one day you'll understand. Love doesn't follow rules. I stared at that message for hours, trying to figure out how someone who had shared my childhood could now twist a knife and call it fate. I deleted the thread and blocked her number. But the silence didn't bring peace. It brought a heavier kind of loneliness. Not just the absence of love, but the absence of anyone willing to acknowledge the harm. I began to question myself. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I had been cold, distant. Maybe Ryan had fallen out of love and Lily had simply filled the void. Maybe it really was my fault. And that's how betrayal works best, not just when it wounds you, but when it convinces you that you handed them the knife. I moved away, not far just enough to breathe without passing by places soaked in memory. I found a small apartment near the waterfront, started freelance editing from home, and tried to stitch my life back together with quiet mornings and coffee that I didn't have to share. At night, I'd sit by the window and wonder if Ryan ever looked for me in crowds, or if Lily ever felt even a flicker of guilt. But the truth is, people who rewrite their own stories rarely pause to reread yours. 3 months passed. Then came the email from a woman named Elise. The subject line was, "I think we've both been lied to." At first I thought it was spam, but something about it felt sharp, personal. I opened it. Elise introduced herself as someone who had dated Ryan recently. She said she found my name by accident through an old tagged photo on his social media. She had no idea he was married before, no idea he had once stood at an altar with someone else, no idea Lily was my sister. "He told me you were unstable," Elise wrote, "that you fabricated drama to destroy his happiness. But I saw your wedding photos. I read the date on your divorce. I just thought you should know." My hands were shaking, not from heartbreak, from the sudden clarity that Ryan hadn't just betrayed me. He had rewritten me, turned me into a villain in the story he told to justify his choices, and Lily had gone along with it. Whether out of love or cowardice, I didn't know, but it hit me in that moment. The pain wasn't just that they'd stolen something from me. It was that they had tried to make me feel like I never deserved it in the first place. I didn't plan to see her again. I told myself that closure could come in silence, in distance, in building a life so far from hers that we'd never breathe the same air. But fate has a cruel sense of humour. I ran into Lily at the grocery store aisle 7 by the herbal teas. She froze. So did I. For a moment, all the air in my lungs turned to glass. She smiled, soft and hesitant. "Claire," she said like we were strangers who used to be kind. "It's been a while." I didn't answer. I just stared. At her perfect eyeliner, at the way she tilted her head like she was still the golden child who expected everyone to fall back in line. Then she said it, "I'm glad you're doing okay. Ryan told me you've been healing." Healing, as if she hadn't set the fire and handed him the match, as if she hadn't walked through my ashes and called it love. "You lied," I said, my voice quiet but steady. "You lied to everyone and to yourself. You didn't just fall in love. You stole something that wasn't yours, then blamed me for bleeding." Her smile faltered. "Claire, I never meant to hurt you. But that was the thing. They never meant to. They just did it anyway, out of desire, out of ego, out of entitlement. I'm not here for an apology," I said. "I'm not here for closure. I just needed to see your face when you realized you didn't break me." And then I turned, left my basket on the floor, and walked out. Not because I was angry, but because I was done carrying a weight that was never mine to hold. Healing didn't come like a sunrise. It came like rain, quiet, irregular, sometimes barely there, sometimes flooding everything. I stopped waiting for apologies. I stopped rereading old texts, stopped replaying what I should have said, what I could have done. I realized that closure wasn't something they could give me. It was something I had to claim for myself. So I did. I took a pottery class. Something about shaping clay, about touching something soft and turning it strong, reminded me of who I used to be before all the breaking. I got a dog. His name is Theo. He doesn't care who left or who lied. He just cares that I come home. And little by little, I started choosing myself again. I stopped blaming myself for being blindsided. Love makes us believe in people sometimes far beyond what they've earned. And family? Family teaches us to tolerate hurt in the name of keeping peace. But peace that comes at the cost of your dignity is not peace. It's silence. And I'm done being silent. Lily still posts their smiling photos. Ryan still pretends I never existed. And my parents? They still haven't asked what really happened. But I don't need them to, because I know. And that's enough. I built a new life not to prove anything to them, but to remind myself I still had one. Not defined by betrayal, not trapped in bitterness. Just mine, fully mine. If you've ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most of, you've ever been made to feel small, dramatic, disposable, know this: you are not the problem. You are the beginning of something stronger, something truer. There are betrayals that leave scars, and then there are betrayals that change the way we breathe. Claire's story isn't just about a broken marriage or a sister's disloyalty. It's about what happens when silence replaces truth, when family becomes the first to dismiss your pain. Sometimes, the deepest wound doesn't come from losing someone you love, but from realizing that the people who were supposed to protect you never really stood beside you in the first place. But here's the quiet power in all of it. Healing isn't given, it's chosen. Claire didn't find peace in an apology. She found it in choosing herself again one morning at a time, one quiet act of courage at a time. And that's the lesson we often forget. You don't have to be the one who's understood. You just have to be the one who refuses to disappear. If you've ever been blamed for your own heartbreak, made to feel like your pain was an inconvenience, or forced into silence to keep the peace, please, know this: you are not alone. Your voice still matters. And you are allowed to take up space again, on your terms. If this story resonated with you in any way, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you felt seen. Subscribe for more stories that speak to the quiet strength within us all. Wishing you clarity, comfort, and the courage to walk forward with no need to look back.